if it's uncensored, we can have an uncensored intro, and that was our intro, right?
That was our intro.
There you
we
go.
have no intro. It's
That's the
everything
intro.
unsaid.
There you go. Cheers.
So cheers to
the new podcast.
To the new podcast.
There you go.
And today we're going to be like talking a very special matter that it will be government contracting, and is most likely because all the tension that happening during these days in the Middle Eastern. And I do have here with me my dear friend David Packouz, who better than him to explain us
Right.
all the things by experience that could be happening in this crazy world that we're living. And well, David, can you tell me a little bit more about your experience with government contracting, which has been like cited more than overrated, and that the industry has been like growing lately?
It's the U.S. government spends about $300 billion every month.
Every month.
Every month. Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's a bigger, it's a bigger number.
Quite big.
Okay, so David, everyone thought, like the world completely thought, like start like getting more eyes into this of the government contracting business, most likely after the war, after the news of you coming into the news with your ex-partner, and then which make it like even more pronounced this effect was the movie that Hollywood did, correct? Because before that, it was like barely people talking about government contracts. It was a matter that was actually under closed doors. People keep it very secretly. People actually didn't talk about it. All the events would be like closed doors. And not many people would get into it. It's like something that once that you're in, and it's very hard to get into it, correct? You need to follow a lot of regulations.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would definitely say that the War Dogs film brought government contracting to a new level as far as public awareness. People have told me that War Dogs is to government contracting what Wolf of Wall Street is to stockbrokers. Okay. So it's kind of like the theme movie for the industry, so to speak. But it's something that has been around since like World War II at the minimum in its current form. And it's definitely something that is difficult to get into because it's complicated. The government has a lot of rules and regulations, a lot of hoops you got to go through, a lot of I's you got to dot and T's you got to cross. But once you learn how to do it, there is not that much competition. So just for example, in the United States, only 12% of U.S. businesses are even registered to do business with the U.S. government. So that means 88% of businesses in the United States are not even registered. A lot of them don't even know that government contracting exists, or if they've tried to do it, they get very intimidated by it because it's complicated. And that's why one of the things that we do at War Dogs Academy is not only teach individuals how to start their own government contracting brokering business, like just buying things from the 88% of businesses who aren't registered and selling it to the government, but we also provide a business enterprise service to businesses who want to learn how to do government contracting, want to learn how to sell to the government. We do all the paperwork for them, and we do the research as far as contracts they can win, and we put together the proposals for them. And along the way, they train their staff to do it themselves. Sorry
that I interrupt you. So, like, technically, David, what he's talking here is that he and his friends, like, he has, as a co-founder, a new academy that is called War Dogs.
War Dogs Academy.
And technically, what him and his fellows do is, like, they teach people and how to navigate in this world that it can be, like, quite hard.
Yes.
So technically, that's what he's referring to. It's not about a new movie. It's actually about the academy.
Yeah, that's right.
Do not commit the same mistakes on the past and go into a new track.
We teach you how to do government contracting the right way. That's right.
Correct.
The right way. The legal way. Yes.
Correct. Yes. I just want to emphasize
that. Yes, exactly.
What just makes you start this project?
Well, ever since the film War Dogs came out, it came out in 2016, so a little while ago. At the end of the War Dogs story, I was banned by the judge from doing government contracting for about 15 years. And so I went into other businesses. I went into making products for musicians. I designed a product with my brother called InstaFloss that flosses your teeth for you in 10 seconds. Check it out, instafloss.com. And but I had ever since the movie came out, like I had a lot of people contact me on social media asking me to teach them how to do government contracting because it is hard to teach yourself. It's pretty complicated. But I was already banned from doing it, and I'd been kind of like traumatized, I guess you could say, by the industry from my experience in it. And so I didn't have any interest, and I didn't have time to teach people how to do it anyway. And then about a year and a half ago, these two guys contacted me. I think it was on Instagram. And they told me, we're 28 years old. We were 21 years old when, the movie came out. And we were working on a banana farm. We were dead broke, and we saw that, hey, these guys in the movie, they're our age. If they can do it, why can't we do it? And they got obsessed with government contracting. They taught themselves the whole system. They made a lot of mistakes. They lost a lot of contracts because they didn't know what they were doing. But after a few years, they finally figured it out, and they ended up specializing in laundry services of all things, not weapons or anything.
Type of businesses, whatever that you can buy, government contracting is going to have it,
right,
as one of the lines.
Practically everything. I mean, there's probably some things the government doesn't buy, but they do buy almost everything. So they're probably not buying cocaine, maybe, and maybe the CIA is. They've been known to do that more in selling cocaine business, but But yeah, so anyway, so Logan and James is their name, these two guys I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. They started a government contracting business, and they ended up specializing in laundry services. And nowadays, a few years later, they have, I think they've won over $25 million in contracts. And they're millionaires. They're traveling around. They're doing the laundry for the U.S. Army in bases in Europe, and so they're doing really well for themselves. And they reached out to me to say, thank you for the inspiration. If it wasn't for War Dogs, we would have never done this and been where we are today.
Correct.
And so I thought to myself, well, these guys taught themselves how to do government contracting. They're in it right now. They have multi-million-dollar contracts. They're obviously successful at it.
And they pick out a very safe industry.
Yes, and they picked
There's no way of doing it wrong. It's just like landscaping or any of those.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a way to do everything wrong. I mean, no matter what you do, you could do it wrong and get in trouble. But the biggest wrong you could do is not to do it, right?
That's right. That's how you were taught.
Exactly.
So you will keep getting into it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, well, we changed we did something that was against the terms of our contract. But anyway, so after they contacted me, I realized, hey, I have these hundreds of people who are asking me to teach them. Why don't we start something to teach people how to do government contracting? And they love the idea. I mean, their business is on autopilot now because they won a bunch of big contracts, and it's a service contract. So it goes over period of 5 years, and they just need to file the paperwork. It just takes them a few hours a month. So they had plenty of time on their hands. And we started War Dogs Academy about a year ago. And it's been going amazing. We've had a few hundred students who've won contracts through the system. Over $13 million in total contract wins from our students that we know of. I mean, some of them don't tell us about the contracts they win, but of what was reported to us, $13 million of our is of the total contracts in the last year. And these are starter contracts because when you first get into government contracting, the government is only going to let you bid on contracts that are under $250,000. And you don't need any past performance, any proof that you've done this business. You could be a brand new person with no experience and still win a $250,000 contract with the government. But once you win a few of those, then you're eligible to bid on bigger contracts, like multi-million-dollar contracts. So the first year, our students have been winning all these starter contracts, and together they've won over $13 million in contracts. One of our students won a $2.6 million contract, so that was amazing. He's set. And it's been incredible. We've also been helping, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of businesses get up and running. We've had quite a lot of businesses who've had amazing success with our enterprise service as well.
That's correct. So, okay, let's go now to the part where who was David before getting
Yeah.
into government contract? Where did David was born, and how did he got into this industry?
Well, David was born. David was born.
We don't need to go that
yeah,
far.
it's okay. It's okay. It's just funny in the third person. I was born in St. Louis, Missouri, which is in the middle of the United States, near Kansas. But I was only lived there for a few weeks. I didn't I don't remember. My family is Jewish, so we moved to Israel. My dad is a rabbi, so a religious, very religious person. I'm one of 9 children. Grew up in an Orthodox Jewish family, and we lived in Israel until I was 8 years old, and then we moved to Miami. And been in Miami mostly. I went back to Israel for a few years to study, but mostly been in Miami. And let's see, before I got into government contracting, I was 22 to 23 years old, and I was at the time studying chemistry. I've always been a science nerd, and I was working part-time as a massage therapist, as you see in the movie. That part is true.
I've never seen the movie.
You've never seen the movie?
Never.
Get out.
I know.
Get out. I can't believe we're friends.
I know.
Wow.
I told you is that I don't want to see
You know,
it
my mother refuses to see the movie too.
She's just,
Yeah.
It's where I believe so. I don't want to see it.
Did you read the book?
Neither. I don't want to.
You don't want to. The book is true. Though.
The book is based on real. Okay.
Yeah, the book is actually true. The book that the movie was based on. They renamed it to War Dogs after the movie came out. The original name of the book was called Arms and the Dudes.
Arms and the
the
Dudes?
Arms and the Dudes. It's a reference to Hemingway, I think, who wrote a story called The Arms and the Men. Nobody gets the reference. I thought it was a bad title anyway. So yeah, they changed the title to War Dogs, and to capitalize off the movie. And but that book by Guy Lawson is the actual true story, or as close as there is. It's the closest version, other than my version, of course.
Yes, I rather your version, but the book is going to be something worth it of reading.
It's good because
I don't have nothing against Hollywood or what they did. It's just that I don't want to see like that. The visualization of like.
I don't think that they portrayed me too badly. I mean, I'm no angel or anything like that, but like
that we know.
Yeah. oh snap! How would you know? You didn't see the movie. But I think they portrayed me relatively well. I'm not upset about how they portrayed me. I thought it was more or less. If I had to put a number on it,
it was soft or like it was like extreme.
What?
It was like a soft twist, or like was like something extreme.
If I had to put a number on it, I would say that War Dogs was about 70% accurate. So it's mostly accurate.
It's good. It's not bad.
Yeah. No, for Hollywood, it's pretty good. Yeah. What?
Yeah, for Hollywood, it's good. What about your character?
My character? Yeah. You mean like how they portray me?
Yeah.
Well, I have way better hair in real life. So, other than that,
besides no hair.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think they portrayed me pretty well. Yeah. I mean, they made some things up, of course. They have like some relationship drama in the movie that was
with just Anna de Armas.
That's right. Yeah. So in the movie, they have me like lying to her about, what I'm doing, like saying I'm, not doing the arms business. But in real life, she's Cuban like you.
I know.
Right?
I know. Yeah. I like to depict her. Okay, so besides that, like, how was for you to start like into this industry? We know that you were already like having or like receiving the news that your wife at the moment she was like pregnant. Yeah. You were like kind of like cut with your hands into many stuff because you were like not only like that to like work and like trying to figure out everything for your life at the beginning, and now you have like your ex-friend calling you and telling you that this industry was being very profitable. Right. So how was that?
How did it happen? Yeah, I was, as I said, I was working as a massage therapist. I had a few like side businesses, and I was selling SD cards on eBay. I was selling bed sheets to hospitals. They show that in the movie. That part is true, but not in the way they show it. I was doing like bulk shipments. I wasn't like going from place to place.
Errors.
Yeah. And, Not that I mean you would know because you haven't seen the movie, but
I have seen some parts, but not the full
okay,
movie.
not the full movie. Okay,
Yeah,
I
like
would have think you would have done your research here before.
I haven't like used as research, but I haven't like
Okay.
sit to watch the movie.
Well, you're
But I have
missing it.
seen the plays. I have seen like Anna Armas like screaming at the beach, like
Okay.
and like then like the other
You've seen
guy
the
like
little clips.
running.
Yeah. You've seen the clips. Yeah, I mean, I might be a little biased, but it's a great movie. You should watch it.
Mm-hmm. Maybe one day.
Yeah.
Maybe one day.
So yeah, well, so I was, as I said, I had a few side jobs, and I bumped into a friend of mine, Ephraim, who in the movie is played by Jonah Hill. We had known each other since we were kids. Like we had met in synagogue, and both of our families went to the same synagogue.
And they were like Jewish as well.
Yeah, he was He's Jewish as well.
Jew, yeah.
And I hadn't seen him for a few years. He had been sent off to work for his uncle in like LA when he was like 16. And what had happened was he had his uncle had this big pawn shop and sold guns and ammo, and he became a gun nut. He became obsessed with guns, and so he started like selling the guns in the store to the customers, and then his uncle started doing government contracting, selling the guns to like the state and local police, and then the federal system. And then he worked for his uncle for like 2 years, learned how to do government contracting, got a lot of connections, and then him and his uncle had a falling out, and he decided to come back to Miami. So he started his own company, started working for himself. About a year after he did that, I bumped into him at a mutual friend's house, and he asked me what I was doing, and I told him, about the SD card business and the bed sheet business, and he was like, "Oh, that stuff is very similar to." The things that you're doing for that business, very similar to what I'm doing for my business.
Bigger scale.
Exactly. And it's a different product, but like the general skill set is the same, right? Looking overseas for sources of suppliers, negotiating with them, arranging shipping, licensing, import-export permits, financing, etc. Right? And he's like, but I bet I'm making way more money than you. So why don't you come and work with me? We can make way more money together. And I told him, well, how much money are you making? Right? And he says to me, he's like, I'm gonna show you, but only to inspire you, not because I'm bragging. And he opens up his laptop and he shows me his bank account. And he had $1.8 million in his bank account. And he was 18 years old at the time. I was 22. And I was like, holy crap. I mean, I thought I was doing all right with my businesses, and, I was pretty comfortable. But I was not making millions, and he had made this in like 1 year. So I was like, okay, you know what you're doing. I want to learn that too. Teach me what you know. And that's how we got into it.
I imagine like during the journey, it could be like a hard journey, like meeting people, networking. Technically, that's where it's based. Actually, a big part of the business. Correct? Finding who is having the product and who are you going to deliver it.
Yes.
And sometimes that part can be tricky.
Yeah, sure. So finding good suppliers is very tricky, especially in this business. A lot of people won't answer you, and, most people won't answer you unless they take you seriously. And so what we would do is we had won a few small contracts with the federal government, and so we would take the copies of those contracts and send copies of them to potential suppliers and say, hey, look, this is business that we've done already. We're looking for these particular other items. Can you help us with that? It's like a way to prove to them that we're real business people. And we also went to like trade shows and like met people in person. Everyone was always surprised how young we were, because we were like in our early
Because you guys were like actually Miami new boys.
Yeah.
Living the American dream.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah.
It was very impressive actually for that age. Well, I believe that we're ready to like pass the part of War Dogs. And how do you get into it? What about the other part of David? The part that nobody knows about it.
Oh.
There was actual betrayal portrayed in the movie.
Right.
And there is your musician part.
Oh yeah, my musician stuff. Yeah, I've been a musician
your entire life.
Yeah. Well, I've been playing guitar since I was like 15. I've been a singer my entire life, but because it's just something I was born with. But and I learned to play piano during the pandemic. So, I've recorded music. Actually, this right here is my album. Yeah, there's another one up there as well. It's,
Yeah, right there.
yeah, up there. Yeah, see, it says my name on it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so people, if they're curious about my original music, go check out David Packouz on Spotify and
Yeah.
Apple Music, and anywhere else fine music is streamed.
Yeah.
You know?
What about personal life of David? What does David normally do now that he's quite of like half retired of the business?
No, I'm not retired. I mean, I'm retired from government contracting. I haven't really done much of that. But now, I mean, run War Dogs Academy. That's we just launched this like a year ago. But my main business for the past 11 years now, poof, it's been a while, is I create products for musicians. So the way this happened was after the whole War Dogs story collapsed. Yeah, I got sentenced to 7 months of house arrest, and I was very bored. I was playing a lot of guitar at home, and my musician friends would come over and we'd jam, but none of my drummer friends wanted to bring over their drum sets, right? Because it's a big pain in the butt to move. So I bought a drum machine, which is an electronic device. It makes drum beats, it has a bunch of buttons. You make beats on it on the table, and it plays it in a loop, and you can play your guitar to the beats. But every time I wanted the beat to change, I'd have to stop playing my guitar and press a button on the machine to change the beat, and then go back to playing my guitar, and it interrupted the flow of the music. So I thought I need a drum machine and a pedal on the floor that I could control with my foot. And I was sure someone made it. So I went online to go buy it, and nobody made it. And I asked my musician friends, and they're like, I've never seen anything like that, but let me know if you find it, because like that sounds super cool. So I thought, if nobody's making it, everybody wants it, I'm going to make it. And so it took me about 3 years. It wasn't easy. It took me 3 years, but I finally got a working prototype. And then I had completely ran out of money by that point, because I'd spent almost all my money on lawyers and actually living, and then I had to give the engineers a down payment, which was the rest of the money I had. So I pretty much broke. So I launched a crowdfunding campaign and on Indiegogo, which is Kickstarter's competitor. And in like 1 month, we raised $350,000, and that was the start of Singular Sound, my company. And the product is called Beat Buddy, like your buddy that plays the beat. And last year we just had our 10th year anniversary edition.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and we're working on the next generation now.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
where is like what do you think, based on like your experience, do you think there is like something that is like ethical? Yeah.
As far, you're talking about the arms business?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I always give the example that, people, I've gotten some hate comments online, right? In some of my interviews, people, call me a murderer and say I have blood on my hands, et cetera, right? And the way I think about it is that you can use a knife to chop your vegetables, and you could use a knife to cut somebody's throat, right? All depends on how you use it. You could use a gun to kill somebody. You could use a gun to prevent yourself from being killed. So it really depends, or to prevent some other innocent person from being killed. So it really depends on what it's used for. The things that you're doing in of itself are not bad or good. It really depends on how you use the tool. And people who criticize government contracting and selling to the U.S. government, well, I mean, in that case, you have to blame the soldiers themselves too, right?
Correct.
Because they are the ones pulling the trigger. I mean, yeah, I'm providing them the guns and the ammunition, but they're pulling the trigger. None of that would have happened without them pulling the trigger too. And you don't see anyone going and calling the troops bad people because they're following orders for a democratically elected government. If you don't like the United States' policies, I certainly understand that. The United States has not been perfect by any means historically, a bit of an understatement, but I think that's a matter of politics, right? We have disagreements as a country about how the military should be used, and if you don't agree with it, then you vote for somebody else. And but that's the system we're in. So,
technically, it's just another business, just as.
Yeah, I would say that it's the politicians and the people who vote for them who really bear the responsibility of how the military is being used. rather not the troops and not the suppliers of the troops.
Yeah, the troops are just like listening to orders at that point. You're just giving them the ammunition and like they're just receiving orders that they need to accomplish technically.
Right. Yeah. I mean, as long as they
I will say there is an
lawful
issue
orders.
more of like society. It's not even about politicians at this point. I believe there is more an issue about society and like how they were like raised with the barriers. I will say with the barriers that we were raised.
Okay.
Sometimes, unfortunately, there are things that have to be done.
Yeah. I mean,
sometimes and I believe that America is a place that is worth defending.
I would always say that that's the case.
Yeah.
That the United States is worth defending.
Correct.
And yeah, I mean, it's. I think that that we should support the military of the United States and support the ethical use of the military in the United States.
Correct. I approve that too. I approve that, and I believe so the same way that it's not about the gun. Is the hand that holds the trigger.
Right.
It's about the person who is behind. It's not always about the gun. The gun is just a piece of metal.
Yeah. It's about how it's used.
Yeah. It could be just nothing. But do you think that the not government contracting, but just the part of like ammo is a racist business?
Racist? I've heard plenty of criticism of the arms industry and the gun industry of the United States. I mean, and there's plenty of valid criticism. I haven't heard that it's racist. I haven't heard that claim, right? That's not something I've heard. Definitely, there's no doubt that the gun industry in general and shooting sports in general skew more conservative politically in the United States. I mean, the NRA is a very conservative organization. But I think that's changing. You know, there's plenty of people, there's plenty of Democrats and liberals who support the right to bear arms. And there's plenty of Republicans who support reasonable gun legislation to keep guns away from psychopaths and criminals, and which you would be surprised at how loose those current regulations are. And I think that from what I've read anyway, most Republicans do not believe in the level of gun freedom, I guess you could say, of the NRA. Right? The NRA pretty much, from my understanding, and I'm sure there's going to be people who are going to angrily correct me in the comments. The NRA seems to be, to me, against any legislation at all, and I think most Americans in general, both liberal and conservative, are supportive of reasonable legislation to keep guns safe. You know, like maybe you shouldn't sell guns to people with a history of mental illness. You know, that's probably not a good idea. I mean, you wouldn't approve them for a driver's license if they're, if they don't have schizophrenic or whatever. But so they probably shouldn't have firearms either. But there's some extremists politically in the United States who are against that kind of legislation, and so that's why it hasn't been passed. So I wouldn't say it's like racist necessarily. I wouldn't even say it's necessarily a clear-cut conservative or liberal issue. But definitely at the extremes, it is.
To the extreme, do you believe there is more besides conservative side?
I mean, when I say the extremes is, from my understanding of the political situation in the United States regarding guns, it's the extreme right wing that is against any legislation whatsoever. You know, they want pretty much everyone can have any gun. For whatever reason, right? And I don't think most people think that's reasonable. Like someone who has mental illness shouldn't have a machine gun, right? It's probably not a good idea. And there's been plenty of tragedies out there where that has not turned out well, because these people who with reasonable legislation would not have had access to weapons do have access to weapons, and it turned into a bad situation.
Correct.
I think most people, conservative or liberal, would agree that reasonable legislation is something, right? The people who don't believe, and there's on the other end as well. I mean, the extreme liberals would want all guns banned, right? Nobody could have any guns, right? I think most Americans are in the middle, right? They don't think everyone should have a gun. They don't think nobody should have guns. You should have if you're a responsible citizen.
But we already know what happens when people doesn't have the guns. And if you want a real democracy, people have the actual people.
I've heard that argument. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that because Europe has very strict gun laws, and I think they have real democracies, right?
You believe so?
Oh yeah, I do believe that Europeans have real democracies. I think most international democracy watching organizations
maybe they don't have guns, but they throw shoes in the parliament.
Well, I think that's better than shooting the parliament up, right? I mean, I'd rather take a shoe to the face than a bullet. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of countries out there who have strict gun laws and have perfectly functional democracies. I think that's something that people are, that's hyperbole, right? That's people just making shit up, taking things to the extreme. Oh, if everyone doesn't have a gun, the government's going to oppress us.
I don't agree with everyone having a gun, but I do believe from my perspective of I come from Cuba.
Right.
I believe that people should be if you're in your safe judgment and clear mind, and you desire to have one to protect your family.
Sure.
You should have it.
Right. Yes. I mean, look, the first thing any dictator does is get rid of the guns in the population, right? That's what Castro did. That's what every dictator does, right? Because they want to have a monopoly on power. That's not to say that if you get rid of the guns in the population, then you automatically get a dictatorship. That's not the case, right? Australia got rid of their guns. They still have a democracy, right?
There's still there is people that still hold guns for hunting.
Yes. I mean, look,
so there is no complete restriction on it.
Yeah, but it wasn't the guns that prevented the government from becoming a dictatorship, though.
For Cuba, was every type of guns, everything.
Yeah, I know. Cuba got locked down their guns. What I'm saying is that it's not a reasonable thing to say that if you get rid of the guns in a society, it's going to automatically turn into a dictatorship. It's not, right? I mean, plenty of European countries have strict gun laws and have perfectly functional democracies, and they have not become dictatorships. And there's plenty of very well armed places in Africa that are they're full of guns and they're messes. They don't have any neither a dictatorship or a functional democracy.
I'm very happy that you touched the part of arms in Africa, because they are one of the craziest places that they have black traffic of guns and ammo.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of pretty ugly conflicts over there. Yeah. So yeah, it's an unfortunate situation.
Okay. Besides that subject, what do you think there are bigger scale the consequences? Because I was reading, and actually by fact that we just leave it a couple of years ago. What are the worst consequences of one of these contracts?
The worst consequences?
Yeah.
Of a government contract?
Bigger scale.
What's the worst consequence?
Because I was reading, and also we already saw it by fact of all the equipment that was abandoned by our troops.
Yeah.
Over other countries, and then the Hamas taking advantage of it and then turning against us.
Right.
Again.
Well,
so that's crazy.
It happened in Afghanistan. Actually, unfortunately, the bullets that we've delivered to the Afghan National Army are probably currently being used by the Taliban.
Correct.
But that's not really. I wouldn't say that that's the fault of the U.S. of the government contractors.
Correct.
Right. That's the fault of the military for deciding to leave all their equipment behind.
Correct.
Right. So the United States pulled out of Afghanistan pretty quickly, and they thought that the government they left behind there is going to be stable and going to continue lasting, but they were wrong. They collapsed within 3 days. I mean, as soon as the United States left, the Afghan government collapsed and the Taliban took over. And when they took over, they got all the equipment that the U.S. left behind for the Afghan government, and including all the ammunition we delivered.
That's sad.
Yeah. It
That's very
isn't.
sad. But that's like
It's
what happens
unfortunate.
bigger. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
what happens bigger scale.
Yeah, I mean, the same thing happened in Iran in the 70s. The United States sold F-14 Tomcats to the Shah of Iran, and then the Ayatollahs took over, and now they have our F-14 Tomcats, right? And they're shooting at, well, they probably don't have many F-14s anymore, but they did have a whole bunch of F-14s.
Yeah, bad twist.
Yeah, yes, that could be a bad twist.
A bad twist of the history, but nobody have power actually on.
Right. I mean, once you have
delivered,
right? Yeah, once it's delivered. I mean, once there's a once the weapons change hands, you can't really control them anymore. That's just kind of how it works. Yeah. At least with small arms. With the F-35, there's rumors that there's a kill switch built in, so maybe they could control it. But
no.
But the United States doesn't want to admit. They don't.
About like how the people saw you at one given moment, and now you just feel released that they don't see you that way.
Sure. I mean, definitely when the New York Times article came out, it wasn't a flattering article. I didn't look that great on the cover of the New York Times. They put my mugshot. I looked like a real criminal. And my family was very upset about it, as you can imagine. And I would say that really it was the Beat Buddy was what I guess I would say was my redemption arc, right? Because I could prove that I could do something useful and something that people love and productive, and not just broker ammunition and get in trouble with the government. So it was something that I'm extremely grateful went well and continues to go well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that people is going to love it now, like the new edition when it comes out.
It's a secret.
I know, right?
We're actually pretty close to announcing it, so yeah, maybe in like a few weeks.
Yeah. A few weeks.
Yeah,
okay.
Maybe a month. But
it's getting there.
What?
It's getting there.
It's getting there. We've been working on it for years, but yeah, it's been a long time. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it was a pleasure.
Likewise.
Having you.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm honored to be the first guest on the Unsent podcast.
Thank you. I'm honored to for you to receive me and allow me to make you all these silly questions and record it.
Well, what's a good podcast without silly questions?
Yeah, that's true. I believe that those are the questions that, I always like have made you all these questions, but just in like closed doors.
Right.
Yeah, we have never like record this type of conversations.
And now you get to share it with the world. Cheers.
And now we're going to share it with the world. I believe there is
Word Academy.
Sharing. Correct. Word Academy.
There you go.